Here's Brody Brazil.
Schedule oddities. That's definitely a big theme early on of this season because you have a trio of 5-game road trips. I think between October, early and late November. I mean, literally before December, you've already been on, huge 5-game roadies. Those are usually like 1 a season, maybe 2 and stretched out over months, but 3 of them really early on here. And there's also this oddity. The Sharks are playing, some Western teams, a lot of Eastern teams. A couple of those early 5-game trips are out East, but the Sharks will only play 2 Pacific Division opponents by December 9th. And actually, I take that back. It's Calgary in both of those games, one in late November and one there on December 9th. So how does that work? On December 9th, the Sharks will have played Calgary twice, and they will still have yet to face any other Pacific Division opponent. I don't know what that means. I'm not going to try and overanalyze that. I know by the end of 82 games, it all plays out the same anyway. Kind of, because there are some differences in this year's schedule too. But it's odd at first. You're going to see Sharks and Jets a couple times, Sharks and Montreal a couple times. I think the Sharks played the Islanders well before December 1st twice, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, the schedule does get quite busy in November and in the month of April. Now, this is still a condensed NHL schedule. Usually opening night would be like tomorrow or the next night, the 4th or 5th or 6th, early October, first week usually of October. This year, for whatever reason, and maybe it has a little bit to do with how late last year finished, but this year it's October 16th for the Sharks. And the season goes all the way until late April, and part of that is because of what the Sharks will have is a 3-week Olympic break, first 3 weeks of the month of February. So that's when the NHL is going to shut down entirely. I'm excited to see that. I'm happy that, the owners have got it together. If from what it sounds like, everything's going to work just fine. It is a large risk. I mean, you're the primary employer of these star players that are all going to be going to Asia and participating in the Olympics. And, hopefully COVID has subsided significantly, so that's much less of a concern by February, I hope. But obviously the other injuries, which have always been a question mark and a concern for owners, do you really want to have them playing these games? Not necessarily on your dime, but at your risk. But that being said, me as a spectator, I like the players too. I want what the players want. And they want this opportunity, and they didn't get to go in 2014. So I definitely want that for them. No, did I say 14? Did I mean 2018? But it's going to be a busy schedule in November, playing pretty much every other night. I mean, that kind of goes back to what the Sharks experienced last season. And we talked about COVID and protocols and not playing their first home game for a month in, thinking they were going to have to start home games in Arizona. All that was bizarre. But another part that nobody really talks about was the workload of games. When you're playing every other night, you are not really getting an opportunity to have practice days in between, rest or proper recuperation. An NHL schedule, yeah, they can play even back-to-back nights. That's fine. But they got to get 2 nights off somewhere else, totally reset, get a practice day in there. So November and April are the busy months. If you just glance at the calendar, you can see they're dotted up pretty much once every other night. So it's a busy stretch in the second month and the final month of the season for the Sharks. And then the other biggest theme here is, quite honestly, the rest of this Pacific Division, which we didn't see, entirely last year. And now this year, it gets a little bit different, that the Desert Dogs, I would play the sound effect, but it would stop my presentation here. The Desert Dogs are out, right, with 32 teams because the Kraken are coming in the division. So I've divided this into groups. The SoCal teams, the Western Canadian teams, and I'm still calling the Las Vegas Golden Knights, not the Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Golden Knights expansion-ish, right? But Las Vegas and Seattle, and what are the Kraken going to be like? If it's Golden Knights 2.0, this division is in trouble. That's unfair, by the way. If the Kraken turn out to be like the Golden Knights, I mean, that how is the league? I mean, I don't think they're going to expand beyond 32 anytime soon. That's already a lot. So they won't have to deal with this, but these teams are going to sit, for the next 5 years and say, look what we've had to deal with. The Edmontons, the Calgarys, the Vancouvers, Kings, Sharks, and Ducks. I mean, it's frustrating enough to have the Golden Knights handpick, cherry pick. But I'll say this, if you think right now, well, the Kraken don't appear to be the same team. You sure about that? Because were you saying that the Golden Knights were going to be really good this time, 5 years ago? Were you saying that? No, nobody was. Until their season started, they didn't lose a bunch, and they went all the way to the Stanley Cup final in year 1. Yikes. Now, if the Kraken do that, well, I don't want to say what I'll do. Anyway, how stacked is the rest of this division? You know what? The Kings and Ducks have been working really hard on their pipelines. Vancouver, just every time they seem to turn a corner, they also seem to take a step back. And realistically, with who Edmonton has on the team and what Calgary should be on a regular basis, I've always thought that those 3 teams were underperforming, but therein lies the problem. It's only a matter of time before they get a season right, or 2 of 3 of those teams, or all 3 of those teams get a season right. And then you've already got Las Vegas in there. And how soon are the Kings and Ducks, the trio of California powerhouse that it used to be? Think about what this division used to look like. If you'd come in from out east, you would get hammered by the Kings, Ducks, and Sharks. They used to call it the California Gauntlet. Did I say that right? Gauntlet. Gauntlet. Why did I say that word? Now I got problems with it. Gauntlet. All right. But clearly it's not that same level of difficulty anymore. So the rest of this division, I'm just going to say, probably hasn't been the strongest over the years. I would not expect that to last too much longer.